Under the subdomain organization of book area, I think there's evidence that the book area has been thoughtfully designed. It's an area set aside for the use and display of books. It's the first section of the room I always put together when I'm doing a new room layout. I think it's the first section most teachers do. That corner of the room is sectioned off with bookcases, creating a secluded area that is home to a small child-sized bookcase, lots of stuffed animals, a couple of puppets, and various different choices for seating, cushions, pillows, a rocking chair, beanbag chair. Our books are all in good condition, with the majority of them being new. The room in our school that we keep our books is where our speech therapists are currently working. And because they work for the hospital when we contract with them, there's COVID regulations where they basically have to keep themselves secluded as much as possible and away from as many of the student body as possible. So for that reason, we kind of don't have easy access to our books. So I've just been buying new ones. While we do have that one defined space for books, we have a second area that's also sort of become our second book area. Routinely now the children ask to be read to, or they'll read to us at at snack and lunch. So we put another little bookcase over where we eat. So the books, because the children were just going to the book area and bringing the books to us, so we just made a second book area to kind of make it easier for them. Some of our more loved books, like the Mo Williams books, we have a couple copies of, one for the book area and one for the snack and lunch table, because we know we're going to inevitably end up reading it a couple times a day anyway. So under the subdomain characteristic of books, I found that there's some evidence that available books offer variety in content, level, genre, and characteristics that reflect the diversity and abilities of the children in the classroom. But there's certainly room for improvement at the moment. I mentioned the extreme lack of diversity represented in the books at the moment. We have a lot of books right now that are kind of in the same theme. Actually, you have a couple of themes, I guess. Like I said before, they're big into the zoo stuff right now. But an overarching theme that we've had since the beginning is engagement, because we found out early on that our children just they weren't interested in books. They would not independently pick them up. They would sit and attend, but they weren't interested in it. Got the Mo Williams, the pigeon books, we've got a little book about there's a monster in your book and the kids have to try to turn the book. They've got to try to blow him out of the book. Things like that. Things where they're actively engaging. Don't let the pigeon drive the bus. So they can keep yelling no. We've expanded to things like Chris Van Dusen, things with colorful illustrations. During circle time, early on, when I started making this big push to kind of get the kids engaged in books, I assigned Barry, the little blue puppet, the role of circle time teacher and storyteller, and that's kind of what really started to get things going with them. They like Barry. He's very overly emotional and overly exaggerated when he's reading. They just listen to the puppet more than they listen to me. I don't know what to do. That's just how it is. Because of the success that we found with those type of books, we really just went all in, finding more books with engagement and comedy that the kids would find interesting. I mentioned it earlier a little bit. The kids would routinely ask me to read the pigeon books to them at snack. I mean routinely, like we're reading these things all the time. At one point, one of my students asked if he could read it, and he sat down and he held it like I do. He held the picture so they could see the pictures, and he started to recite it. And we put a picture of that in the newsletter and set it home, and it was such a big deal. Like now, all of the kids are really into it. We made such a huge, look, he's reading. They're all interested. They all take their turns doing it. That's become a big part of our day. So I think we score pretty well in that subdomain. Under the subdomain books for learning, we do usually keep some type of educational books over there to go with our theme. Picture books, child encyclopedias. Right now we've got animal themed ones, obviously. We're going into dinosaurs after Christmas, so we'll do dinosaur encyclopedias and things to help with vocabulary and concepts and herbivore and carnivore, that kind of thing. We also have a few children, one really in particular, who is just kind of on the cusp of like sight words. So we have a couple of like really, really early reader books over there, like Hop on Pop, that kind of thing. So we keep those over there as well. We also have basic like picture books, board books, though my kids really, I don't think they need those. It's not really developmentally appropriate. I apologize, guys. I know I'm rambling and muttering at this point. I've deleted these and started over so many times now. I'm just finishing it up. Sorry. So under the subdomain approaches to book reading, I think anyone who observed the class would see that there is sufficient evidence that book reading is an integral part of our daily experience in our classroom. And it certainly occurs in a variety of different settings and groupings. We do at least one formal book reading a day during circle. We routinely read at snack in the morning and at lunch, at least a couple of books, really. And if it's a rainy day or the kids just, I don't know, if they seem a little down or a little sleepy, we'll get together and we'll do another like story time. Under the subdomain quality of book reading, I think there is sufficient evidence that the teacher thoughtfully select the book. All right. I'm too far into this one to start over. We're just going to go. The books are indeed chosen carefully to promote engagement and often to extend learning. One of the main storytelling techniques that we use to help promote engagement is expressiveness and overly exaggerated readings. Props and puppets help with that. As I mentioned before, the children are really beginning to love to read to their friends and families at home, which I think is just probably the best thing to happen so far this year.